Yeah. What happened was because there was just a long queue of vehicles, trying to cross yesterday. So after I crossed with my orderly, and on the other side of the bank of the River Gambia, I think because he was in the round and I was in the round, they did what they could do best. They just pushed my car aside
Oh
and
dear.
started giving priority to other vehicles.
Oh, this happens to the advisor of the president?
So I stayed at Barra for 2 hours and there was no vehicle. So we had to ride back to Banjul. So I ended up not going to the meetings, but I actually went to Barra. So I had to come back.
Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic.
So that was what happened.
Yeah, but you were doing the profession you were trained for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gathering information without physically being there.
I don't know what Doctor has covered, but I know I was there at the terminal to welcome the president. Normally, this traditional recitation from the Holy Quran, and then from the State House corridors all the way to the terminal. There was this drumming and dancing, the usual fanfare and political razzmatazz, as they would say. So it was colorful and very joyful. And then after the president received the salutes from the Marines and then the welcome by the elders of Banjul and the religious leaders, we boarded the Kunta Kinte ferry. In 20 minutes, we are in Barra, somewhere around, I guess, 5 o'clock. They also had a similar program at the Barra ferry terminal. And thereafter, they proceeded to visit the sites that Dr. must have enumerated and ended up having a meeting in Banta Jokadu by Kundaya. He talked about the school. I'm very familiar with the area, so we are close to Kerngor. All those peripheral villages depend on this particular school. And for all these years, they've had only up to grade 9. So they have all these catchment areas that they call places that would feed the school with students. They had to struggle and attend schools outside of their jurisdiction. So this was the main problem. So now that the president has come to the rescue, that they're going to have up to grade 12, it is significantly going to reduce the boredom of these students trying to relocate into places, far and new. And it would also bring down a significant reduction in cost of not only tuition, but then trying to, transition into communities that are new. So I think that was significant. Another thing that he also talked about, our interlocutor, was that the president also said, while it is good to go to Europe and then, adventure and explore places and then maybe make fortunes or get educated, you could also stay in the Gambia and then make it here. And then he gave himself as a role model that he went to Europe for 3 years, saved some money, came home, established Majum, hired people he was with in Europe hustling, and after 10 years, he made good money, established a formidable business, and ended up running for the presidency successfully twice. So, in other words, not all that glitters is gold elsewhere. Gambia also has gold that glitters, except that maybe all too often, as citizens, we don't see our gold. We tend to see gold that is beneath the eye can see. So I thought that was significant from the president's mouth.
I mean, this is, this is positive, emerging from, the commencement of his Meet the People tour.
Yeah.
But I'm going to ask the same question I asked Dr. Cisse. How relevant is this tour? I mean, the president did not have to organize, an expensive undertaking like the Meet the People tour, to hear about the high school or senior secondary school needs of the people of that particular North Bank area.
Of course not, Peter. There is a reason why the lawmakers who gathered in Banjul decades ago decided that the president has to, as a matter of fact, visit his constituents.
In those days, telephones were not as ubiquitous as they are today.
As they are.
Tarred roads were not being taken for granted as we are today.
Televisions were still a luxury.
Exactly.
Mobile phones,
FM radio
internet,
stations, and all of that.
Google and what have you.
Exactly.
There was no Googling,
So getting information is not as difficult today as it was then.
Very scarce then. However, it makes a lot of common sense for the person elected by the generality of the population of the Gambia to be interfacing with them fast, from village to village, community to community, locale to locale, annually, to hear them directly, instead of having chiefs, alkalolo, and governors who are intermediaries.
And spokesmen.
Spokesmen and spokeswomen.
Women, yes, okay.
and ministers and advisors. It makes a lot of sense for the president to interface with the people who actually elected him into office. Fast, sit with them. If you go to Kerewan this morning, I'm not there, but for the past 6 years I've traveled with him. What you're going to see is ordinary, common people having breakfast with the president, having tea with him.
Yeah, am I?
Talking about
Not having breakfast with him.
Yeah.
Never having tea with him.
Well, one day you will. Maybe Dr. Sise will take you there. Maybe he'll invite you to breakfast one day. So it's important, from griots to village criers to village elders to women to youth group, they all converge on wherever he is in the mornings. After breakfast, the president sits with them and they talk about natural, everyday.
Who pays for the breakfast? The president?
Well, there is enough bread and butter when the president is there.
Who pays for the breakfast?
Well, Gambia is very communal in nature. When the president is around, the community, they always chip in. You know that very well. So
I've never traveled with him to know that.
yeah, well, you've traveled with Yaya Jammeh to
Me? Never.
Oh, really? Okay, you went to Ethiopia though, didn't you? Yeah. So by and large, this is what you see every day. Honestly, from Bara to Kerewan, going across the entire spectrum of the tour, of the presidential tour. That's what you see. The presidential retinue, ceases to be a normal retinue that you see in Banjul. It becomes a melange of locals and the glitterati and the literati from Banjul, the Dr. Cises and the doctors, and plus ordinary villagers.
And critics would also say it puts pressure on the people because they feel obliged, to make presents to the president. So they give him livestock, they give him all, produce from their crop. This is a man who lacks nothing.
Okay, that is one point of view. Conversely, I can also argue that it also puts pressure on the president and his government to see the real or the realities on the ground. Instead of governors sending you cables and communiques, now the people bearing the brunt of the pain are sitting with you on a daily basis, telling you exactly what they go through. So while that may be true, equally true is that it also puts pressure, formidable pressure on the president to realize that there are people in the Gambia who do not still have clean drinking water, who do not have clean potable water. There are people in the Gambia who still struggling. They walk to school. They have no school transportation. There are still people in the Gambia who don't have communicable roads. That is a fact of life. There are still people in the Gambia who are managing to scrape a living a day. They couldn't have 3 square meals a day. These are realities. I was born in Serekunda. I grew up in the provinces. I've traveled the provinces, very vastly for the past 7 years. And I have seen differences. And I've also seen not so significant differences. That is a fact of life. So the president coming face to face with the people also puts pressure on him to double up, to work harder and aim higher.